everything that you needed to know you learned in kindergarten? Well, after this morning, I don't believe that, because I learned a lot of stuff. It actually is pretty intimidating. I'm here because I'm participating with Saul and the Business Innovation Factory in a project called Rhode Island Wireless Innovation Networks, RI-WINS. So we're going to go from the profound to the prosaic. This is not a lot of big thoughts, perhaps. It's about getting something done, which I think will help the innovative process in the state, and then perhaps have some multiplier beyond that. Let me start with the story part, at least one part of the story. This began about 2 years ago. As with most good things, it started with my wife, who was reading the Providence Journal and handed me this article. She said, "You need to read this." And it was in the early days when Saul was starting his pitch on innovation at scale and turning the competitive disadvantage of Rhode Island into an advantage. Is that me?
No, it's me. I'm sorry.
And she said, you need to look at this. And I said, what a great idea. You make something small and manageable into an advantage. You know, you can reach out and touch everyone that makes anything happen around here anyway. So I started thinking that. And I've been in the telecommunications business for a long time, a lot of work in wireless. So I just got this idea stuck in my head. Gee, wireless. How cool would it be to build a ubiquitous broadband wireless network border to border so that everyone in the state could get used to the idea of having access to the information, the people, you know, the anytime, anywhere, blah, 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 and really make it happen. And it would be pretty easy to do. I mean, it's a little place. That would be, and what kinds of innovation could you drive in terms of business process and different kinds of business models? So, you know, given that Rhode Island is half a degree of separation from anybody else, it happens that I knew some of the guys at EDC, and I wrote up a little thing and sent it off. And what do you think about this idea? And we got together, and they could, I guess, could see that it was immediately sort of an extension and a logical support for the kinds of things that they were doing. So we put together sort of a little informal team. We started to socialize and sort of canvass some of the organizations in the state that, you know, does anybody care? I mean, there's a lot of ideas that sound good on paper, but no one cares. Well, the more we talked about it and the kinds of things that you might be able to do with this kind of network, people began to light up. It generated a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and interest, and you could see the ideas start to spawn. One idea would lead to another. So from there, we finally had, I guess it was May of 2004, we had our first event. We had a little conference. We had some solution providers and some user organizations from around the state, and we got together to discuss it. And the same thing happened, and to the point where, since I always like to end the meeting with an action item or some event, we actually got some volunteers to be on a steering committee to drive it to the next level. And so we, despite the sort of allure of the Rhode Island beaches during the summer, we continued to sort of maintain our momentum. And in the fall, we decided that we needed a more formal effort to determine the feasibility of the project in terms of, was it desirable? Did it create value? Was there enough demand for this kind of thing? Was the technology appropriate? Was it economical? And so forth. So we began to assemble a team. And we put together a team of organizations, public and private, from within the state and outside the state. It turned out that IBM, and there's some good people around in the room, took the lead in the feasibility study. And that took a few months. We talked to more people, surveyed a lot of people. And I'm not going to go into a lot of this because if you go to the BIF website, you'll see the output of the feasibility study, and then you'll see also see a document that was the next thing, which was the business plan. So we decided, after doing all of that, we decided that we was like Columbus. We declared it feasible because we found that there was demand. We found that there was a combination of technologies that made it practical. And almost more important, by the reaction that we got from the people that we talked to, we found that there was a business model that made it work. And what it was is not a for-profit organization. It wasn't a governmental. It was an amalgam. It was a nonprofit partnership of public and private interest. Because what we wanted to build was, we didn't want to build another silo where someone would build a network, special purpose, and it would never generate enough volume or enough traffic that anybody was interested in renewing it. We wanted to build something that people could share, a multi-use network. Because one of the things about wireless is that it is inherently flexible and convenient. I mean, otherwise you just string a wire to a place and do whatever you're going to do. And that inherent flexibility and convenience enables people to collaborate. It enables different organizations that would normally and conveniently communicate with each other, whether it's voice or data or video. It enables them to do that. And so the partnership made a lot of sense. And there were some other things where we basically, in the business model, we've sort of created I'll call it an ecosystem. It's a way of fomenting and aggregating the demand and then sort of cycling it through to the solution. You know, I mentioned I've been in high tech and the telecommunications business for a long time. One of the things that I've always been frustrated at, this is part of the personal thing, I'm not an engineer, so I'm a marketeer, right? And I've always been in the middle of trying to explain the technology to a bunch of people who want to try and use it, and then the users' requirements to a bunch of technologists that want to try and create a product that's going to solve that problem. And it's a difficult thing. But as a result, I've always been amazed at how slow markets are, how slow organizations are to adopt really good and innovative technology. And a lot of times it happens so slowly that the technology gets passed over in the next round of technology, and it never really gets picked up. And it's because people don't interact early enough in the process. The market and the people who have the requirement for the use don't ever communicate with the people who are making the technology early enough in the process. Now that's changing. The internet has done a lot in terms of development of new products, of early prototyping and getting that feedback. But so this Rhode Island Wins was one way, and the ecosystem that we hope to build with it, or in it, was one way that we could accelerate this development, test, trial, deploy at scale. Because you'll learn a lot about doing anything if you do it at scale that you wouldn't if you did it in a little microcosm. So from a personal point of view, this was something I thought which was exportable from Little Rhode Island to a bigger stage. It might be of benefit to technologists and technology organizations outside of Rhode Island. So if we built this network and everyone had access to it and we could drive new business processes and new business models, we'd make the companies and organizations in the state more effective, more efficient, more competitive. That's a win. If we did it right, we did it open, based on standards, and it was sort of mentally receptive to doing new things, we might actually attract and make it easy for technologists from outside of the state to come and use Rhode Island as a test bed, this idea of using us as a petri dish, That would be a win. That would be good because some of them might actually stick and employ some more people. So I saw it as a double winner. RI wins. After all, I'm a marketing guy, right? So that's why I called it RI wins. So let's see. I've already gone through that. Now, I'm happy to say that we've gone from idea to the verge of implementation. We're going to start our pilot, I would say, in the late December, January time frame, where we're actually going to install equipment, have applications. We'll have 5 applications from different sectors of the economy that are representative of the groups that are the most significant user bases here. And that's going to happen. Again, this time it's a larger team that's implementing the project. Again, led by IBM, who has just been great throughout this whole process, because I think that they get what the potential is for this project. So next time, BIF-2, I hope to report to everybody, or maybe Saul will report, because I may be dead, that we've made significant progress and that we have success, and that we're on to the next stage. All right. Again, I don't want to talk too much about the project. What I'd like to talk about, because there is documentation, and if you want more documentation, you can email me. I guess I've gotten some insights. This is supposed to be a personal thing, right? I've gotten some insights. How am I doing on time? 2? Oh, wow. Okay. Insights. Okay.
For you, 3.
For me, 3. Because the truth has made me free. Or tree.
Made you tree.
Yeah. Okay. So there are some things about this that make it fun and interesting, but at the same time are the elements for a tremendous amount of frustration. First of all, it's new and unique. The global partners that we've had, IBM, Intel, so forth, have told us it's unique. No one else is trying to do what we're doing on a statewide basis. No one else is trying to focus not on cheap internet, not on low-cost internet, not on power to the people, but on innovation, pushing the envelope, doing new stuff. Okay, that by itself is difficult, because as soon as you're doing something new and unique, people say, oh, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my organization? How is it going to change the vested interest, the status quo? And so you have to educate them. And it's a slow process. It takes patience, which I've been told I don't have. But it does take time. So I've learned that. I think that carries over. It's complex. It's multiple technologies, multiple organizations, multiple applications. And it's been difficult to maintain the focus. What I tell my clients is, the more you focus, the better you do. And it's difficult in a complex environment to focus. So that's hard. And the collaborative partnership piece, particularly when there are nonprofits and governments involved, it's a different metric. You can't get it to happen always the way you'd like to at the time frame and on the schedule that you'd like to. And again, that takes patience, and it takes compromise and openness. So there's some things that I take about innovation, right, that transfer from this. First of all, what's common to innovation? You have to communicate. If you don't have an infrastructure that enables you to communicate, then you're probably not going to innovate very much. You have to have openness. You know, we're talking about a lot of cross-pollination, people getting together, collaborating. You have to be open to doing that. If everyone's worried about their own ox being gored, it's not going to happen. Innovation is repeatable, but it's different every time, depending on what your focus is: product, process, business model, et cetera, and I'm gone. All right.